You've been so busy the past few months, right? Working through Syntropy, the startup of the mining operation. We've spoken about prototyping, the difference between proof of stake, proof of work. I mean, it is such an immense field that I feel, yeah, it's been very technical. And it's good to learn technical. And I think it's like, it's like bread and butter for you. But looking at just viewing where Syntropy is and where it fits into the larger picture of the crypto mining business, at a business or industry or field, what do you see happening with that? And what do you feel and sense as a vision for Syntropy moving forward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When you're in the trenches and you're building something, you're thrown a lot of curveballs and things change, things more for the better, right, because you're constantly trying to improve things. But one thing I can say, and one thing I'm very happy with, is that our core vision never changed. I started this mining operation really with two very important things to me. One is we wanted to become the world's first proof of stake mining company. We wanted to really, stand behind that in a transition from proof of work to proof of stake. But more importantly was transparency. Historically, throughout the history of crypto, you'll see, unfortunately, there's been a lot of companies come and go because they're stuck in the old mentality of centralization and secrecy. Everything in our old system essentially was done in the dark, whether it was the financial industry, where it was this industry or that industry. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to build the world's first 100% transparent cryptocurrency mining company. That's a bit of a mouthful. What does that mean? Well, if you look at cryptocurrency in general, right, it is inherently transparent. It's inherently open. It's all written by open source code. You can track each and every single transaction on a public block explorer. And so it's very open and very, very transparent. And to my dismay, when I saw, one crypto organization after another, where they were pushing forward with an old mentality where everything was done in secret, you come to a web page and you would see information there, but it wasn't backed by anything. So I wanted to do something radically different and 100% out in the open. And we've stuck to that. So I'm very proud and very, very happy that even though things technology-wise are evolving and moving at more speed, we've really stuck to that core vision.
Yeah. I've known you a while, and you come from the cloud security, cloud industry, really. Share a bit more about how does that fit into crypto? I mean, how does the components of crypto mining relate to the cloud industry? I mean, just briefly.
Well, I think it's better said by really talking about our history and where we've been and how it effortlessly evolved into the crypto sphere.
Exactly.
So I've been a business owner for 24 years, as you know. We started the software engineering company 19 years ago. And in 2012, when we took a look around at the other cloud service companies, the Amazon and the likes, we were very displeased with the different cloud service platforms out there. And so we wanted to build our own proprietary cloud service platform. So we built a cloud service platform that catered to dedicated servers. We were building mobile apps, websites. We were building servers to host and maintain all these different web applications, et cetera. And so we built this cloud service platform, which essentially is very, very centralized, because that's how our economy has always been. And but we're very proud of what we built because it's proprietary, it's one of a kind. We're not beholden to a large conglomerate like Amazon or GoDaddy or anything else. We basically essentially built our own proprietary system. So when we wanted to move into the crypto sphere, it was very easy for us because we already had this cloud service platform. And when we started to build our mining operation and we started to build nodes, it was very easy to, and I say easy lightly, it's technically it was actually quite a challenge, but it was relatively easy to morph our existing cloud service platform that's been in place for many years into and repurpose it for crypto. And so that was essentially, I would call it phase one of our roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And I can start to get into the other phases as they've been rolling out as well. But just to answer your question, it was a relatively easy transition because we didn't have to try to fit a square peg in a round hole, i.e. into somebody else's cloud service platform and try to fit along with their rules. We were able to take our existing platform and modify it for exactly what we needed for crypto. And there's no way we could have done that if we were piggyback off somebody else.
Right, and you've been a server. Would you say it's an engineer building servers for many years, right? So you know the architecture, the hardware involved with data centers. I think you might have even built data centers. You obviously not now, but in the past built data centers. So the idea is that the way I saw that question was more like, right? So you're inherently aware of the infrastructure involved. And when it comes to centralizing data, but now you're dealing with crypto and crypto mining, which is completely decentralized. So I'm sure there's some interesting overlap there between migrating from one centralized system to a decentralized system.
Very. It's interesting to say that because just kind of back to our history, I've been building machines my whole life. And my initial drive in my career was working for multinational telecom companies. And we essentially were building the infrastructure for these telecoms, broadband internet, telephony, digital cable, et cetera. And essentially at that time, we never even conceived anything decentralized. It wasn't even a thought. But to answer your question, that's really where the core of our experience is in networking, security, building machines, getting all these operations to work harmoniously together. So that's kind of our history. Now that the whole new future economy is being revolutionized into a decentralized system, it's a flip of thought. It's a whole different concept, but it's really easy for us to transition because we've been involved in the industry forever.
And interestingly, would you say that the infrastructure remains the same? When I'm talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about fiber optic, the cabling of the net as we knew it in, I guess, Web 2. They're talking about Web 3, but maybe you put a better idea what that means. But specific to the question, the infrastructure involved, what has changed between the years that you were involved with that, between then and now? Or is it just a layer, is it the software layer that has changed? Or is the infrastructure still the same? I guess it might be a complex question, but I'm sure you know what I'm trying to ask.
Well, technology builds on itself. And sitting here in 2018, looking back 20 years, in one sense, nothing has changed. Because think about it, 20 years ago, I remember sitting in the Caribbean, and we used to use voice over IP or VoIP when it was in its infancy. And we would use very rudimentary technologies, but we essentially were talking over the internet to the other side of the planet instantaneously. That hasn't changed. We're doing that right now over Zoom, telecom. We're recording this conversation. We're speaking. So essentially, that has not changed. And essentially, unfortunately, the infrastructure has not changed either. And it's very unfortunate, I believe, that the internet itself is very, very centralized. People will say, well, no, it's not. You've got servers across the planet, and you've got all these different countries and telecoms, and not really. Unfortunately, the infrastructure is still the same. You've got fiber optics that connect the countries together. You have NOCs that are the central hub for the internet. You have ICANN, which in order to get a domain name, you have to go through ICANN, which used to be in the US as a nonprofit. Now it's in the United Nations. So Unfortunately, it's very, very, very centralized still. Well, where we're going is going to be completely decentralized. We're going to have a decentralized internet. We're going to have a decentralized economy. And so there's going to be a road to get there. And we're hoping to be one of the, just do our share. I don't want to say we're going to be the driving force for that. I'm going to say that we're hoping to do our part or do our share in that process.
And when you say decentralized internet, I want to go back to that word. I see that there's electricity grid, and then there's the broadband grid, the Wi-Fi, and now they're talking about 5G or something that I don't quite understand, but I believe it's quite radically different from 4G. But just getting to that, I'm thinking Wi-Fi and I'm thinking electric. So there's two large variables that's going to play into probably mining as well, and decentralization of nodes. And when I say decentralization of nodes, I'm thinking in terms of what you said about spreading hardware across the world physically. So there's quite an impact there already.
Well, just recently, I think it was the Department of Justice just approved the AT&T Time Warner merger. Yeah. Right. Now, AT&T, Ma Bell, you look at the history of that. It was a monopoly. It was broken up into little pieces. Right. And you look at Comcast, Time Warner, they own everything. And now you've got the two of these re-merging into one entity again. It's a monopoly. And it's the core of the internet, unfortunately. And humanity, in my opinion, will never be free until you are able to either break up the monopoly, or you're able to just be the change you want to see in the world, and find a way to decentralize the internet. The internet must be decentralized, and it has to come at the telecom level. So we as humanity will never truly be free. We'll never have free information that's uncensored, that cannot be shut down, until we're able to solve that problem. That's kind of a whole nother subject that's really outside of what we do. What we do is essentially we're kind of the bridge between emergent technologies and the average investor who is very interested in supporting these emerging technologies that will revolutionize humanity, but doesn't necessarily have the technical skills or the time or the whereabouts to do that. And these emerging technologies that need the average investor or the average person that wants to participate to get involved. So we're kind of that bridge between the two. We're never going to solve the issue of centralization that we just discussed, of trying to decentralize the internet. That's for the community to solve. That's for the million developers worldwide that are currently working on a decentralized web model, a decentralized infrastructure model. That's for them to do. And right. Those types of projects are one of the many that we will support. When I talk about us being the bridge between these emergent technologies and the participants or investors or people that want to get involved, my true desire is to support projects that are going to better humanity or our environment. So if someone comes up with a technology that's able to decentralize the web, that's able to decentralize our telecom infrastructure, or if it's like Bitcoin Green, for example, that wants to help our environment, we're going to stand strong behind them and support them. And I think that's where our value has been. And again, it comes back to the vision. I'm really proud that we've stuck to our core vision, where we want to find these emerging technologies that are helping humanity at different levels and helping the average person who wants to participate, just being that bridge between the two.
Right. Beautifully said. So getting back to the bridge. So you said you if I hear you right, to be the bridge between emerging technology and you mentioned investor, right? So what is that?
I don't like using the word investor because because really from simplistic level, it's someone who's an evangelist, who's energized by witnessing a technology that's going to revolutionize humanity. That's, to me, this is where crypto is for me. This is dear to my heart. Crypto, in my opinion, every single project or community or coin that comes out has a purpose to solve an existing problem. And so we take great pride, or we love the fact of supporting these technologies and bringing in people that are like, yes, humanity needs this. Wow, I can see a use for this. And so, yes, there's a monetary gang in it, and they get involved, of course, because they want to make a profit. But it's much bigger than that. There's a moral standing behind it. There's a mission that people want to participate in. I think that's where the excitement comes from, is when you bring the two together. You've got a core development team and a community that's developing something really, really powerful that's going to transform humanity. And then you have a core of evangelists that are just saying, yes, I want to align myself behind that. I want to invest in that. I want to support that. And so we're just hoping to be that bridge to bring these two entities together and make that happen.
Oh, that's excellent. That's exactly what's needed. Because you're right. The investor is ambiguous. Well, it's a term that's used in so many aspects of life that I would say evangelist. You're right. Absolutely beautiful term to use. If you're investing our time and energy in something, we are seeing this whole digital transformation taking place, and it'd be interesting to know that that the whole idea behind digital is the dematerialization of physical objects. That's why we found, at one point we had a book in our hand that was a physical object made of paper from trees. Now we have the ebook, that's digitized completely, and we're seeing that these economies are being swallowed up into a digitized, vortex in a sense. And I think, as you, with a very exciting business, filling that gap between emerging technologies and these evangelists, what do you see? What do you see in that field, in that bridging that gap? What are you currently bridging as we speak within Syntropy? I mean, what are you working on?
Sure. Well, just one perfect example is Bitcoin Green. Bitcoin Green processes extraordinarily fast, and it uses 0.004% the amount of electricity as Bitcoin. So again, if we're going to if we're going to use crypto to transform humanity, we're not going to be able to do that if it's not sustainable and for our planet. And if it's going to suck our resources for our planet, it could be better used in other avenues. If we could use that computing power to reverse engineer DNA and to reverse engineer disease, right. And we could use all that power to essentially to push humanity forward and to help lift people out of poverty, et cetera. There's so many hidden benefits just by supporting a technology that's going to use far less resources than its predecessor. So again, every single one of these coins or communities that come out, they're solving a problem or they're perfecting its predecessor. So that's just one example.
Right. That's Bitcoin Green, and I'm standing strongly behind that. Well, maybe this is not part of this conversation, really, to go into depth of how the transactions are benefiting humanity, but we'd like to know more about, how you guys are solving that at the moment when it comes to the transactions you're processing with the infrastructure you've developed. I mean, where's this heading to? I mean, have you got an idea of what the future holds for computing?
Sure. It's interesting. I've been pleasantly surprised, and I stand in awe at times of what we've accomplished so far, and where we're going is very exciting. So, if you don't mind, I want to take a second to kind of show you where we are now. everybody in our team has been with us on this mission for a very long time. I've been working with Clint since 2004. That's 14 years. We're great friends, as well as been working together that long. Valerie and I have been working together for 20 years. Ashley's been 16 years. The person who's been with me the least amount of time is Herb, who just recently started this year. You're a perfect example. I unfortunately I call you our SEO guy or our marketing guru, but you're so much more than that. How long have you been working together?
2009, I think we met, hey David, when we started talking.
Okay,
yeah.
So 9 years. Now, when I look at what we've accomplished, I believe we've accomplished years and years of work into just a matter of the past few months, and I think the only reason why that has happened is because we're such a strong team that has been working together for so long, and we built this format or this job flow. We built this platform. We have our own ticket system. We have our own tools that have been well in place and well seasoned. So we have this organization that's been building from a software development company into a cloud service platform, now morphing into a crypto company. And over the years, it's become more kind of a crescendo or a culmination where everything is just, we're building things at warp speed. And so to ask your question of where we are, I'm extraordinarily excited because we're far more ahead of where I expected to be. Just to kind of rewind, it wasn't long ago when we were manually building a node, one machine at a time, one node at a time, configuring it. And we got to a point where it was unsustainable. And so we stepped back and we developed a bot, computer robotics, to essentially build that node. Everything from, we have something called a sweeper, which sweeps all of our nodes and moves coins into a block. Rather than spending 20 minutes per node to do that function, now we have a robot that does it in milliseconds.
When you were developing the 277 steps of automation that automates every task you had. Like, let's say this takes 10 minutes, that takes 5 minutes, this takes 20 minutes to do. And you've automated all these strings of tasks together. That's like cutting hours and hours off your repertoire of developing or putting these nodes in place, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the number's up to 344 right now and growing. And we're having a meeting later on today to perfect that even further. So, the robotics has been so key into allowing us to free up our time to be able to continue to build. And it goes even further. We our infrastructure, our backbone, i.e. our data center, our physical hardware, at this point would have been completely unsustainable. We're at 118 nodes and growing. 120 nodes. We've got another 10 machines that run our infrastructure as far as our billing and customer management website, et cetera. We've got 130 different machines just running the crypto operation and growing. But I'm extremely excited and proud, and there's a whole other discussion, but we're engineering this to be high density. And what I mean by high density is that we are building our infrastructure or our servers base to handle potentially thousands of nodes, right? In a smaller space than it would have been in the future of racks and racks and racks and racks and racks of servers. I can't get into that because it's a whole other discussion. But my point is that with each iteration, every time of our platform, right now we're on phase 3 of our roadmap, and I'm extremely excited. I wish I could take time to explain it right now, but my point is that as we're rolling out our roadmap, it's building on itself. We are focusing on high density. We're focusing on robotics, and things are getting to a point where we're going to be able to scale infinitely.
Oh wow! So that means that at some point, you have an automated process building nodes based on you didn't really talk much about the platform you are operating on right now and how the customer benefits. I mean, do you want to share any of that? Because I guess
I do.
to understand that in order to build all the nodes, there's something that spurs that along or creates that trigger of building a node. And that's why you're actually automating all these manual tasks into building the stuff. Right?
Let me explain on two levels. From an automation level, we're getting to a point where our value is that we're going to be able to have a robot build infinite nodes really, really, really fast, right? A human being can't do that. So it really benefits the people that are supporting us and our evangelists behind us, customers, and it also supports the coins because there's no way that they would have enough IT guys out there. They're going to have the time and energy and resource to build that many machines. So it helps both sides of the equation, both the developers, the coin, the community, as well as the investors or the evangelists. That's from the robotic standpoint. From a high density standpoint, let me try to explain it from a simplistic level. If you're going to build a node in a traditional level, you need to have really have 2 chips of RAM, 2 processors, and some hard drive space. You can get away with 1. Essentially, if you have a little bit more, then you won't have to spend all your time rebooting them. They just simply run. Well, a traditional IT guy, if he's going to go build a node himself, he's going to go utilize a cloud service company, whether it's Amazon S3 or GoDaddy or whatever, and he's going to be able to buy that computing power from a cloud service company to handle that node. Well, there's some very inexpensive nodes out there that cost like $20, right? There's no way it's feasible, economically feasible for you to pay for chips of RAM and processing speed and hard drive space and then put all of your time as an IT guy. You may have a full-time job. You may be doing this in the evening. You don't have time to build all these nodes, nor would it be economically feasible. So what we're doing from a cloud service platform perspective is we're going to do high density, i.e., let's say we have a pool of 100 chips of RAM and a pool of 100 processors and a pool of hard drive space, right? We can intelligently assign nodes to the pool. And what happens is each node may be working on one node may be working on a transaction and need quite a bit of processing speed, but the other ones are dormant. And then when this node needs processing speed, it utilizes it from the pool. So we can I don't use the word stuff, I don't know a better word, but we can stuff or build in high density a tremendous amount of nodes and under the same amount of resources, on the same 100 chips, right? So instead of 50 nodes or 100 nodes with 100 chips, we can do 1,000 nodes.
Wow.
I'm just throwing a crazy number out there, so don't quote me on the numbers. But my point is that we're building to a point of high density. And what that does is, again, it really helps out the developers and the coin and the community that have a startup mission or desire to transform humanity, and they need to build nodes. But they're not going to stimulate IT guys and gals to go build nodes for them if the one node costs $10 or $20. It's just not going to happen. And even if one node costs, let's say it costs 3 Bitcoin or 4 Bitcoin, and a bunch of people go buy those coins and build nodes, if that value crashes down and becomes no longer feasible, everybody abandons ship. So again, our value is in 2 levels: the robotics and building in high density as a cloud service platform to meet the need for these individual coins. We couldn't do that if we were piggybacked off a conglomerate, a larger cloud service platform like GoDaddy or Amazon. We would be beholden to them. They also one day could get a bug up their whatever, and flip us off. They could flip a switch and we're gone. They could block our ports. They could block our IPs. They could simply say, you don't fit our model if we aren't doing crypto on our platform. So I'm extremely excited that we built our platform so many years ago and took all those years to perfect it for security and everything else, and then transformed our platform for this crypto operation. And now we wake up today in 2018 with our own proprietary cloud service platform that is engineering these nodes and that are getting better and better and better, that we're getting higher and higher density, and we're writing all these bots to do all these automated tasks. It's really exciting, really exciting. And again, we wouldn't be able to do that without our team. Our team has been in place for so long. We work so well together. We know each other. We trust each other. We believe in each other. We're all friends. We get along really well. And when we take a look at our tools, the tools that we have instilled in place, and forget the experience, the depth of our experience, but just having those layers, our job flow, our ticket system, it's the only way we've been able to do this so quickly and so efficiently. Really, really exciting.
With all that said, what do you see for the future? What's the future hold, and where is all this moving towards?
Sure. Well, in a true spirit of decentralization, my mission, my vision, my goal for us is to be able to merge this entire thing into the blockchain. That's a very big statement. To take our existing infrastructure, our mining platform, our entire data center for servers and everything else, and merge that into the blockchain. Now, I guess you probably would ask, why? Why would you want to do that? Well, one,
before I'd ask why you want to do that, I would wonder, what does it look like if everything merges into the blockchain?
Sure. Well, okay, let's take a step back at our current system, right? Our current data center is in Canada, and we have a very traditional cloud service platform model where we have web servers on racks, and everything works just like a hosting company would. We're still hosting a heck of a lot of websites and mobile apps and things of that nature. And the crypto essentially that we're mining is essentially no different. We're on a traditional web server model. Now, in my opinion, that is the old mentality. That is the old way to do business. And I say old, well, it's business in the now, because it's how the backbone of the web is in 2018. But it's not where we're going. The future of the internet, the future of web hosting is going to be decentralized across the blockchain. Let me give you an example. Dropbox is people know Dropbox is a very centralized system. When you upload stuff to Dropbox, Dropbox handles the information, and then somebody else can sync it to their computer. But it's very centralized around a company. Well, SIA, S-I-A, is kind of its replacement, where you've got millions of nodes worldwide that are storing data. It's much more robust because it's decentralized, i.e. you're in Australia and you're pulling it from the local server. You're in Brazil or wherever you are, you're pulling it from a local server. You're not pulling it from Dropbox, and you're not dependent upon a company going out of business. That's even more important. So back to our mining operation, having everything in one data center in Canada under our IP addresses and everything else is very centralized. And so our desire is to move it across the blockchain, i.e. Utilize the hard drive space of SIA, for example, where our storage will be located in 1 million nodes worldwide, instead of centralized into servers into a data center. There's another project called Sonum, S-O-N-M. Sonum is the world fog computer or supercomputer, and essentially what it does is it works like Golem, G-O-L-E-M. Golem, Golem and Sonum, they allow you to share resources worldwide. They call it the Airbnb of processing speed and RAM. So let me simplify. Instead of utilizing a processor on your computer locally, you can piggyback or utilize or rent processing speed across the blockchain. So let me give you a real life example. Let's say you took the movie Avatar. Now, Avatar probably spent millions and millions of dollars on computers to render a movie. They set up all these computers in a centralized system, a data center, and they maybe spend a few months rendering this animated movie. And then in 3 months, I'm not sure what they did with the computers, but essentially they may have gone into the landfill. They may have sold them for a fraction of what they paid for. It's a very big waste of resources, and it's very centralized. So my intention is to utilize, well, I'm sorry, let me just finish that. So with Sonam and Gollum, Avatar, the movie, could have piggybacked off of that global infrastructure, and they could have rented processing speed they needed for that movie, and they could have utilized that processing speed for a month, and it would have cost them a fraction of the cost of buying all that equipment and all that IT time to set up all the equipment. They could have utilized that processing speed, render the movie, and then we're done with it. Now that would have benefited the millions of IT guys and girls worldwide that are building and supporting Sonam and Gollum and Seacoin. And it would have also benefited the movie because it would spend far resources than they would have buying all those machines. It would have been better on the environment. So it's essentially the same thing with our mining operation. My intention is that we're going to move all of our storage or hard drive space on the blockchain through Seacoin. We're going to utilize a multi-international infrastructure on the blockchain for our processing speed and for our RAM. And what it does is it will benefit our platform and our customers and everything else because we're decentralized. We're not in one jurisdiction. We're not in one location. So if Canada wakes up one day and says, hey, listen, we decided we're going to ban crypto, it doesn't matter. Right. Because we're going to be worldwide. Not only are we going to be helping the environment, not only are we going to be utilizing resources more efficiently, we're also going to be decentralizing it, and we're going to essentially make it so it can never be taken down. And we are taking steps, incremental steps along the way to get to that point. We just recently came across the coin, and when we put that coin on our network, it didn't play nice. And so we had to scramble to rewrite our system to be able to meet that need. But the beautiful thing that came out on it was that we are now building our nodes on a worldwide virtual private network where, let me just simplify for layman's term. One node may have an IP address now in Sweden. The next node will have an IP address in Argentina, and the next one would be in London, the next one would be in Sydney, Australia. So our nodes now are essentially going to be far more decentralized than just the Canadian model.
Right.
So I guess my point is that, to answer your question, our mission is to take this mining operation from the existing centralized model that has been where we have been IT-wise for a very long time, and moving it into the blockchain.
Right. Okay. That's quite a vision you have for forward momentum. So if I understand you correctly, so what you're saying is decentralizing and moving into the blockchain. You have you are going to utilize these servers, Sia, Coin, Sonam, Gollum, to access that global processing power, right? Decentralized processing power.
Absolutely.
Is that technology here right now, or is this something that you are adapting towards as moving forward with your crypto business?
It is, and it's very exciting to me. Let me just give you a visual, if you will. Take a look at Amazon, right? Amazon is taking over everything. They recently took over my food when they bought out the Whole Foods. Okay. Now, they have a very, very, very centralized system. And, they have their own IP addresses, their own servers, their own data centers, their own everything else. Well, Amazon's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Bezos, as far as I'm concerned, he's got enough money. And unfortunately, I think that on a negative, there's a lot of great things about Amazon. I'm not trying to slam Amazon. I could tell you 100 great things I like about them. And they're very efficient. So there's something to marvel at in a certain respect. But they're also stealing a lot of jobs, and they're consolidating a lot of things into fewer and fewer hands. And that's a dangerous thing. Anytime you consolidate power into fewer hands, anytime you consolidate infrastructure smaller and smaller hands, it's dangerous. It's dangerous from a perspective of who runs it, who owns it. Also dangerous from a perspective of terrorism. If Amazon was taken down, there's a good portion of our internet would have a serious problem that day. My point is, let me just give you a visual. Imagine the average IT man or woman sitting somewhere on the planet, and they build a shed in the back of their yard, back of their house, or in their basement, they throw up a bunch of servers. And each server, they put on the global infrastructure, the blockchain, on Coin. And let's say one server, I don't know the numbers, I'm just going to throw just a number out there. Let's say the one server makes them a couple $100 a month. They're like, wow, okay, great. Now if I build 10 servers times $300 a month, or $3,000 a month, well, now that meets my bills. And I could build 20 servers, and now I'm making a good living, and now I could bring. And so you've got someone who's an IT person who may have lost their job in one of these consolidations and buyouts, and is like, you know what? I want to be a stay-home father or mother. I want to take care of my children. It gives them that opportunity, because now they can build servers in their basement. They can put it on the grid, and they can Airbnb or rent their processing speed at a hard drive space, make a profit. So what it does for our future economy is, instead of having a centralized system where you got these mega companies, Amazon, GoDaddy, and you're consolidating power and you're consolidating jobs, and people are desperate if you're not working for these companies, it destroys that entire model, and it decentralizes it. It's far more powerful, because I personally would trust a network that has 1 million nodes worldwide, 4, 5, 6 and go offline every day, 100 go offline every day. It doesn't matter. You've got millions of nodes worldwide. Then some mega company where you're dependent upon a staff that works from 8 to 5 or whatever, they're punches the clock every day, that's run by who knows who. I find our future to be so bright behind that. That's just one example of the power of the blockchain, one example of where we're going with crypto.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can tell you that's exactly how I see it working as well. There's so many opportunities being created. I mean, I live in this, small coastal town. We don't really even have a shop here in South Africa. So, this is. I see people renting out their houses. I see people who own houses down here who haven't come down here in 3-4 years. This is space being rented, and these places are being renovated and changed for what they call the lifestyle enthusiast, or the world nomadic digital business person. It's people who just work from computers, and they want to travel. I think it's called the experience economy. You might have heard of that. Hey,
yeah,
experience economy. So these are people that are converting places for this nomadic kind of tribe crossing the world. But these same people need other sources of income, right? And I can see totally how Sonam, Golem, Syntropy mining, your nodes can expand globally by someone investing in hardware from which to extend that network even further. So, I mean, that's exciting stuff, man. Especially if that's tied to some things you can measure or calculate in terms of cryptocurrency. So, that's an exciting thing.
It's an exciting future for me. This is how I see it. Right now, I'm in an old mining town. You probably heard an old train go by, that old beautiful sound of those old trains coming by. And it was a little town that was, and that could be, you look at photos, read books in the history of what was here. It was a booming, bustling town. We had traditional mining. We had hydropower running sawmills, and everybody was working. It was alive. It was functional. You had Main Street, which was bustling, and there was all sorts of shops and different things on the avenue, and all of that has been decimated by this centralized system that we have. Is getting more and more consolidated behind the Walmarts and the Amazons and everything else, and people are walking around jobless, homeless, they're depressed. There's unfortunately a very bad heroin problem here, and I have seen the transition from the time I grew up as a kid, from a booming, bustling, economy into this centralized dead zone, and I see that shifting with crypto, because I see that breaking those conglomerates up and decentralizing into a very, I use the word decentralized probably too much. I wish I had a better term for it, but I see that coming back full circle, where we're going to hopefully empower the individual to be able to be in destiny of their future, where, using that story as an example, the average IT person can build a room full of servers in their basement, and they're in charge of their future. And I'm hoping that's a microcosm of the whole of where we're going, because I just think it's important, to decentralize. And I don't want to take away from, again, large corporations, they provide a great service in many respects, they provide a lot of jobs. And I'm trying not to say that in a negative fashion, but back to the positive, I just believe that crypto in many respects will completely transform our economy. They're going to liberate people out of poverty. They're going to bring back jobs to Main Street in many respects, and empower an individual. So it's exciting, and I'm hoping that we can just play our role in that transformation. And again, it comes back to us being the bridge between these emergent technologies and the evangelist, the enthusiast, the investor who wants to get involved. So
exciting times, man. That's good.
It is.
I think we need to continue this conversation, because it can go into quite a few things. And one thing I read that was very interesting was fractional ownership, using crypto and blockchain. And fractional ownership, I can even see with crypto Syntropy cloud mining, how you're not with the centralized system like Amazon, although it's all great and wonderful to be in a strong position like that. You own your own hardware, and you have those right now in Canada. And it's, by the sounds of it, these nodes, physical hardware nodes that can contain this whole technology that you're developing on the prototyping side, this can be dispersed globally. And as you're suggesting, individuals, IT people from the past could be fractional owners in something like this, where nodes are working to share, processing power, and basically converting that into crypto currency. Does that sound like a good sort of summary of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's why, again, our vision, our mission is to move this into a decentralized blockchain, to be able to liberate and encourage global employment, at the individual level. And so it's really exciting. Yeah, cool, very exciting.
So what does the future hold for Syntropy tokenizing, or having your own coin? Have you got any plans down that way?
We do, and it's hard to share that publicly right now, because the word is Syntropy. We've owned and branded for 20 years now and growing. And when we do a token, it's a one shot at it, and that's it. we're very serious about it. And so we're going to formulate the correct vision around it before we publicly announce it. But just to kind of close out and say this, that the Syntropy token is essentially the end game, and the old archaic or traditional business model is you build a business over your career, your lifetime, and then you get to a point where you sell it. One of my very best friends just literally sold his business yesterday, and I'm very happy and very proud of him, and that's really exciting. I have a different vision, and my vision is actually quite radical. When we build this platform to where it needs to go, and we fulfill its roadmap, and we morph into the blockchain, I'm going to give this to the community. It's going to work a little bit like the Ethereum model. The engineers of Ethereum, they built Ethereum, and then they retained a certain amount of coins, and they gave it out to the community of developers to build. This is going to become much, much, much bigger than us. We are the incubators. We are the ones that put the seed out there. But the vision is that we are going to incubate it. We're going to build it, and we're going to support it and let that seed grow. And then once it grows to a certain point, we're going to hand it to the community of developers worldwide that are going to take it over and perfect it and really make it fly.
And this specifically, you're talking about the ability, the prototyping you're working on, the way to automate and scale nodes on the proof of stake concept, right?
Imagine this entire mining platform, this entire mining operation run by a company with a team that's been together for a long time, that gel really, really well, that are all passionate about building it better and better and better and better. What's going to reach that point when, again, our intention is to move it out of a centralized system into the blockchain. It's going to be a point when it gets into the blockchain where it's going to be outside of our hands in a good way. And I mean that very positively. What I mean is we're going to stay true to the crypto philosophy of decentralization. We're going to stay true to open source, i.e. have our code transparent for the world to see. And we're going to stay true to enabling and empowering the individual developers worldwide. They're going to take over the project and are going to take it to even a higher level. In great fashion of technology, you never know exactly where technology will be a year, 3 years, 5 years down the line. But all I know is that there's a tremendous power behind decentralization, behind open source, behind a community of people that believe in what you do. And so it's my intention of building it to that point where we give it to the global community to make it better.
That really does sound exciting, David. And on that note, man, I don't think that's a perfect ending to our discussion here on sharing what you have with Syntropy. I'd look forward to catching up with a follow-up to this conversation next week.